All right, guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be doing our part 4 of the Generative Energy Podcast number 4 between Danny Roddy and Georgi Dinkov, where we're going to do a breakdown of the podcast. Again, this is part 4. There's 3 other parts prior to this, so if you haven't checked those out yet, there's a lot of information to check out in those episodes. So this is going to be the final part of this podcast breakdown, and then in the future soon, I'll do Generative Energy Podcast number 5. So let's just do a quick overview on what we're going to be talking about today in this podcast. So in this episode, we covered a ton of wild insight on everything from how exhaustive exercise can wreck your kidneys to the hidden dangers of collagen supplements to why medical reference ranges keep changing, and it's actually not in a good way. Plus, we'll get into some repeat philosophy, covering things like why dairy gets such a bad rap for the phosphorus and how prolactin levels have quietly been rising over the years, and whether a low heart rate always means low thyroid. All right, so before we move on to the first section, if you have been enjoying these videos, helps me out a lot if you just drop a like and leave a comment down below with some suggestions. Some people say they like it done the way I've been doing it like this. Others say that they like it with using the AI voice. So just leave some more feedback down below just so I have an idea before I move on to the next episode. So let's get on to section 1. What we're going to be talking about is the countermeasures for exhaustive exercises. So how to counteract the damage from exhaustive exercise. We all know intense workouts, especially things like marathons or CrossFit style training, can take a toll on your body. But the real question is, how much damage are we actually doing? And more importantly, what can we do to minimize it? He said that 82% of marathon runners show signs of temporary kidney failure after crossing the finish line. So that's right, kidney failure. Most people think endurance sports are a sign of peak health, but at a biochemical level, it's a totally different story. The main culprit is PUFA and lactic acid. So during the marathon, obviously, you're going to burn out through your carb stores, your glucose and all that. So then you get the PUFA release. And when you're exercising hard, your body starts breaking down the stored fat for energy, which releases the PUFA into the bloodstream. These oxidize and cause massive inflammation, leading to stress, organ damage, and even making you feel wrecked the next day. So then you also have the lactic acid overload. Lactic acid is a mitochondrial toxin. It's not just the muscle burn that you feel. It actually slows energy production and contributes to fatigue, brain fog, and poor recovery. To mitigate the damage, you want to take some vitamin E, taken between 48 to 72 hours before. This limits the PUFA damage while it's floating in the bloodstream. Ray Peat suggests even using 50 IU is just enough to neutralize the worst effects. Niacinamide and aspirin prior to 30 minutes before exercise, they both help inhibit excessive lipolysis, which is the breakdown of fat that floods the PUFA into your system. Niacinamide also helps lower lactic acid buildup as well. Supposedly, methylene blue blocks lactic acid accumulation and improves oxygen use in the cells, and it helps prevent post-exercise fatigue and mental burnout. As well as aspirin was already mentioned, but it helps protect the kidneys, brain, and the heart from inflammatory damage. Okay, so some of the key takeaways here from this section. So if you're doing long endurance training or high stress workouts, these supplements aren't optional. They're a must, they're saying, if you want to protect your mitochondria, organs, and long-term health. Otherwise, you're literally burning yourself out faster than your body can recover. So next up, we're going to be diving into the safety of collagen supplements, why gelatin might actually be a better option, and why hydrolyzed collagen might not be as safe as you think. Let's go. All right, next up, we're going to be talking about collagen supplements. If you're into skin health, joint support, or anti-aging, you've probably all heard about collagen hydrolysate. But the big question is it as safe and effective as gelatin is? Both hydrolyzed collagen and gelatin come from the same source, the animal connective tissue, but there's a major difference in how they're processed, and that's what makes the huge impact on safety, digestion, and effectiveness. So here's what they had to say. Hydrolyzed collagen, it's easier to digest, but it's broken down into smaller peptides, which means it's absorbed faster than gelatin. The downside is that the way it's processed often involves acids and enzymes, and some cheaper brands leave behind toxic residues that can mess with digestion and overall health. Gelatin equals less processed, safer choice. It's slower digesting, but naturally protects your gut lining. There's no toxic residues from harsh processing. The big issue is processing with acids. So many hydrolyzed collagen supplements are treated with sulfuric acid or even fluoride-based acids to break down the proteins. Residual toxic compounds can be left behind, which could explain why some people feel digestive discomfort or bloating or even just weird side effects when taking collagen powders. So Georgi recommends that if you're taking collagen for joint health, skin elasticity, or gut repair, you should go with just pure gelatin instead of hydrolyzed collagen. If you do use hydrolyzed collagen, make sure it's in the form of a high quality source with clean processing methods. And not all collagen is created equal. Hydrolyzed collagen is a fast absorbing, but potentially contaminated, while gelatin is slower absorbing, but cleaner and safer. So if you want the maximum benefit with minimal risk, stick to the good old fashioned gelatin. I've used Great Lakes gelatin, which I think is great. It doesn't mix well in coffee because it kind of clumps up. So you got to do it like a special way. So it's a bit annoying. But I have made like the little gelatin jello with the Great Lakes gelatin. It comes out pretty good. Sometimes I'll just put it in like a broth or soup or something, add a little bit extra of that gelatin. Obviously, you got the glycine and proline and a bunch of other helpful amino acids that are in there, help counteract the more inflammatory amino acids in protein, like in muscle meats. But I've also used another brand, which I think has been fine. I should probably do some more research and see if they have some third-party testing to see if they actually passed that or not. And that was Forefront Health for the hydrolyzed collagen. So far it's actually been pretty good. I haven't seen any negative effects from it, so hopefully. But yeah, that just reminds me I got to look and see if they have any testing done. So let's get on to the next section. So we're going to be breaking down how prolactin levels have been manipulated over the years and why the normal range keeps getting higher and higher. So now let's get into something wild, how prolactin levels have been quietly increasing over the years and why this might not be as normal as doctors claim. If you've ever had a blood test and been told that your prolactin is within range, that range might not be what you think. Georgi pointed out something shocking. The normal prolactin levels we accept today are way higher than they were just 20 years ago. The upper limit has been raised over time. So 15 years ago, a prolactin level over 11 nanograms per milliliter was considered high in men. Today, the upper limit is now 20 plus nanograms per milliliter. That's almost double the previous standard. So why does this matter exactly? High prolactin equals high estrogen and low dopamine. It's linked to low libido, fatigue, mood issues, infertility, and even gynecomastia, man boobs. Doctors don't flag it as a problem anymore because the normal range keeps shifting upwards. That might explain a lot of things about what's going on today. Is this just another way to normalize hormonal dysfunction? The same thing has happened with testosterone, where lower levels are now normal for men. More people are experiencing hormonal issues, but instead of addressing the cause, the reference ranges just get adjusted higher or lower, depending on what you're talking about. So here's what Georgi suggests for keeping prolactin in check. So we got vitamin B6, but you want to make sure that it's actually the P5P form. This is a natural prolactin inhibitor. Dopamine boosting foods and activities, so bright light exposure, exercise, red light therapy. Progesterone can balance out high prolactin levels, and lowering stress. So cortisol stimulates prolactin. Not good. Some other things that I know about, I think it's mucuna pruriens that also increases dopamine and helps lower prolactin. I think like natural sunlight, which he brought up here, just didn't go into details, but like the vitamin D that you get from the sunlight helps lower prolactin levels as well. If your doctor tells you that your prolactin is fine, but you're dealing with low energy, poor recovery, mood swings, or low libido, question that range. Just because it's considered normal now doesn't mean it's optimal for health. So next, we're going to be diving into thyroid function and whether a low pulse rate is always a sign of hypothyroidism. All right, now let's talk about low pulse rates and thyroid function. You've probably heard that a slow heart rate, like under 75 beats per minute, is a sign of slow metabolism or even hypothyroidism. But is that always the case? So let's break it down. In most cases, a low pulse equals low thyroid, but not always. A sluggish metabolism typically slows down heart rate because thyroid hormone, T3, regulates energy production. Common symptoms of low thyroid plus low pulse is fatigue, cold hands and feet, brain fog, poor digestion, and slow recovery. When a pulse rate is actually adaptive, not a bad thing. So if someone is very metabolically healthy with high thyroid function, their body can regulate pulse lower during relaxation. This happens after strenuous activity when the body downregulates heart rate to conserve energy. Examples. So if someone with great thyroid function but who trains hard might see a temporary drop in pulse after intense exertion, this is protective and it's not a problem. The real issue, the sudden drop in T3. If someone's pulse randomly drops without a reason, so no recent exertion or anything like that, it's usually because T3 levels are crashing. This can happen due to stress, high cortisol, calorie restriction, or PUFA buildup. So what do you do if your pulse is low? So check if you have other hypothyroid symptoms, cold extremities, poor digestion, slow thinking. Measure your body temperature along with the pulse. Normal metabolic function equals waking temperature around 97.8 Fahrenheit and a pulse between 75 and 85. Support T3 levels naturally, so more sugar, salt, and thyroid-friendly nutrients like vitamin D, selenium, and aspirin. All right, so the bottom line is a low pulse isn't always bad, but if it's happening with other hypothyroid symptoms, it's a sign that your metabolism needs support. All right, so next up, we're going to be diving into dairy, phosphorus, and whether drinking milk is messing with your mineral balance. We're now in the final section of this podcast breakdown. Again, leave a like down below if you're enjoying this kind of like a series. I still don't know what this is really, but leave a comment also, leave me some feedback. Let me know what you think about these and if anything should be worked on or something could be done better. If you like it this way or the AI voice is better, just let me know. Give me some feedback so I know how to adjust and move forward. All right, this is the last section. So we're going to be talking about phosphorus and dairy. Some people claim that milk is bad for your bones because of its phosphorus content, but is that actually true? And what's the deal with phosphorus overload? Should you even be worried about it? Let's break it down. So, does milk contain too much phosphorus? So the phosphorus in milk is balanced with calcium. Ray Peat never warned against milk due to phosphorus. Instead, he pointed out that the calcium to phosphorus ratio in milk is actually balanced. Whether it's a problem, high phosphorus, low calcium diets like those heavy in muscle meats and grains without enough dairy or eggshell calcium. Cheese versus milk, which one is better for phosphorus? Ray Peat suggested that over the long term, cheese may be the better protein source than milk because it has more calcium relative to phosphorus. Milk is still a great choice, but if you're worried about phosphorus balance, cheese or added calcium like eggshell powder can help. I still haven't tried eggshell powder. I heard you could just make it yourself, but I still haven't gotten around to it. Has anybody else tried it before? So how do you reduce your phosphorus levels naturally? The body needs phosphorus, but too much can lead to calcification of the tissues, kidney stress, and parathyroid hormone activation. So how do you lower it? Fructose and sucrose help lower phosphorus levels naturally. All right, niacinamide shown to lower phosphate levels, even used in kidney disease patients. And you want to avoid high phosphorus, low calcium foods. Reduce excess muscle meats, grains, and soft drinks, especially cola. what's the upper limit for phosphorus? There's no exact upper limit, but the main issue is the ratio. You want to at least have as much calcium as phosphorus, so a 1-to-1 ratio. If you're eating a Ray Peat inspired diet with milk, cheese, fruit, and organ meats, you're likely fine. All right, guys, so that concludes this podcast breakdown of Generative Energy number 4 with Danny Roddy and Georgi Dinkov. And yeah, again, let me know what you thought about this. Let's see how we should move forward. And again, leave a like if you enjoyed this, and we'll check you out in the next video. See ya.